Welcome to Supply Chain Wars Episode 1, Tailored Services, covering end of 2015 through 2020 when the pandemic hit and a few months after that. Um, I moved into supply chain in the end of 2015 after working at Point 72 Asset Management, Steve Cohen's hedge fund. The work wasn't for me. I was depressed from the work I was doing. Audit, looking back at processes and financial statements back in time wasn't affecting anything now, and I wanted to be a person that was having an impact on a company now. So sales made sense. I went to work for Jim DeVeau at Tailored Services as an account executive, sales rep. Took a huge pay cut. You take a pay cut on the base salary, but there's no ceiling, supposedly no ceiling on how much you can make commission wise. So I like that. I am motivated to work hard when there's no ceiling. I can build the life I want. So I took that big leap of faith, went into supply chain. I'm glad I did. I love it, helping brands with their warehousing operation. Supply chain is one of the coolest fields because anybody that has a product, it has to go through the supply chain. It has to move and get to the customer or to the store. So I learned everything. I was very fortunate that he took me under his wing, the CEO, Jim DeVeau. Taught me a lot of what he knew, groomed me, told me, promised me things. You're going to be a big part of the company if I ever sell it one day. All these promises, nothing ever comes true. But for the longest time, Jim DeVeau was my guy. Kind of an asshole, but when he's your asshole, it's kind of nice to have that person on your side. So I don't have a script for this. I'm just going to talk about the period of time working for Tailored from 2015 to 2020 and how it ended. It took a bit to learn the operation, but I was gung-ho. I was sending LinkedIn messages to everyone telling them we have the best 3PL operation in existence and they should talk with our team because I believed in our team. They were incredible. The other sales guys were extremely helpful, guides for me, mentors. Still to this day, I talk to those guys and they're incredible people. I learned so much from them, and I had success. It took a bit to build up my reputation in the industry, gain a network, going to events, but I started to close some deals, and it made up for, having a very low salary once I started getting some commissions, not huge yet, and I dealt with some pretty nasty bullying from Jim DeVeau. He was my guy and he did a lot for me, so I let it go for a long time. I was called an imbecile. We'll get to the point where I closed a north of $5 million account in 2019. And before I closed it, we were in a sales meeting and I brought up, hey, I have a pretty cool opportunity. I dug this one up from the ground. I was out, meeting with people, meeting with commercial real estate agents, asking them if they knew brands. And I happened to meet with one who had a potential lead for me. And I met with the brand several times. Never went anywhere for months. You know how it is. You get to know them. They have to trust you. But we got to that point where it started to look like a real opportunity. And I remember this like it was yesterday. I can picture it. I mentioned that I had an account called MadRag as a good possibility, nice size account, heavy transportation, sort and seg operation. Supply chain folks will know what that means. Servicing their 120 plus retail stores and growing, opening more. And he told me Jim DeVeau walked out and literally said to me, I don't have time for your silly sales pursuits. Funny enough, about 2 weeks later, after he lost a piece of business that was significant, more revenue than this account could bring, all of a sudden it became priority, all hands on deck to help me try to close this account. Very strange flip of the switch. I don't know what's going on in the head of somebody like that. Again, I trusted him because he was my guy and he did a lot for me to bring me into supply chain, but it's no excuse for treating someone the way I was treated. So long story short, and I had built up a good book of business, not huge yet, but I was beyond my targets and doing well and building a really good reputation and network in the industry. And it turns out I ended up winning this account, MadRag, And I had other accounts, really cool watch account. It was really fun. I loved what I did, helping brands, helping people, moving product, working with our team on the floor. I worked every aspect of the operation to learn it, from receiving to put away, pick and pack, B2B shipping, working the floor to learn it. And I had some cool accounts early on. I actually I won an account called Jack Threads in the first few months, like in 2016. It was like a $7 million account that I cold called the CEO on his cell phone, and he happened to answer and was in need of a new 3PL. And it just, I guess, my positivity and optimism about my team, because I was no expert yet in 2016. Literally that weekend we went and met with them, or the next day. We won the account, handling returns for them for a few months. Unfortunately, we didn't know that the company was in the middle of trying to raise money for the next year. It was a great company. I'm not going to say their name because I have a lot of respect for the folks at that brand. And they were early into the try before you buy thing. But they unfortunately didn't raise the money they needed. So we did hundreds of thousands of dollars of revenue in just a couple months, and then they went bankrupt. So I went from hero to zero. I had to sell the excess inventory, but I learned a lot, right? This is what was cool. All of a sudden, I've won accounts, really large ones, built a returns operation over a weekend with the team. There were some great folks. Our CTO there is still to this day one of my best friends, one of the smartest people I've ever met. So anyway, I experienced so much that it was incredible, and it made me more confident that I could handle things and do anything that was going to come my way going forward in supply chain. But yeah, hero to zero one year, like the talk of the town at the company, having won this huge account, saved the day. So I experienced all of it, the ups and downs, the challenges, and dealing with, I've kind of been bullied my whole life anywhere I've been, whether it's back in school, all the way through college. I guess I just didn't have enough confidence in myself. But that certainly has changed and developed as I entered the workforce, especially in supply chain. I will say Jim DeVeau gave me confidence, but he treated me terribly. But we'll get to that. So fast forward, few good years, closing business, moving up in the world, earning commissions. For 2019 was the year I closed this Madrag account. Great women's clothing store. I hope this helps them get more business talking about it. So I built it. Like, if you knew how much work went into planning that operation, when it's a sort and seg delivering to 120 plus stores spread across the country, all these different hubs that I coordinated with another great company at the time that eventually sold, so that they're no longer in existence. But man, we had an A team designing and building this operation quickly. They had a go live date that they had to transition, and we hit it. I worked with IT. I had ideas on how to actually handle things temporarily while we built the full system out. We literally built software just to handle their operation. Pretty incredible. So all that work, unbelievable amount of work to land this $5 million account that was growing. And it equated to significant commissions for me. For the year 2019, my salary was low, right? That's part of the game. You take a low salary, but you earn all these commissions. My commission was more than my salary, $83,000. And that pays every year going forward, as long as that account remains with the company. So I set myself up really nicely for a good future. And then you continue to add to it, right? That's my book of business, and you keep growing it. That was the whole plan. So fast forward, end of 2019, I'm anxious to get my commissions at this company at Tailored were paid at the end of the year, which kind of sucked. I don't think companies should do that. The longest it should be is quarterly, if not monthly. But anyway, so I'm waiting for the check. It's January hits, nothing. February hits. And we're all starting to wonder when we're getting our commissions. They're using excuses like the financial statement audit has to be wrapped up, which is total bullshit. What revenue came in. You could at least pay a portion of it, if not all of it. It's a way for them to keep the cash on hand and use it and make more money throughout the year. But again, as long as I was getting paid after the year, January, February 2020, would have been nice because I like to invest in the stock market before I started investing in myself and my own companies. Um, so having that extra 80 grand when the pandemic hit and the market plunged, I was ready to go all in on Shopify, many other stocks that have taken, I would have made a fortune. And I told friends this is all true. I had friends buy Shopify at the time because brands were talking about Shopify a lot. I knew that was the next big thing in e-commerce. Um, so anyway, fast forward, still not paid March. Then he's using the pandemic as an excuse to withhold commission payments, which is illegal. Um, March, April, May, and I forget if it was May or early June. I think it was May. We went in for the first in-person meeting at the office since the pandemic had hit. So we go in, I'm there for 4 hours or so, half the day, working with the team, figuring out what to do. There were challenges, trust me, when the pandemic hit, as you know. A lot of our clients, B2B business, dried up because stores weren't open. Scary to, I understand that Jim DeVeau was scared for the company in the future, but that's no reason to screw over your people who got you there. So now I'm at the office at this meeting, and I get called into the conference room, and it's Jim DeVeau and a bunch of the C-suite. Kind of a strange meeting. So I walk in. Now this is half the day. I'm already there working. So if you're going to do this, you do it in the morning when I fucking first get there, or don't even make me come in, especially during a pandemic where we knew nothing about COVID-19 at the time. So he hands me a letter and explains that he's furloughing only me, only person at the company, the lowest salaried employee, at least the salesperson, furloughing me, and I'm not allowed to talk to the clients. Now, I kind of saw this coming. I had already prepared and spoken to a lawyer. I was documenting communications, and I have them all. Some nasty communications from Jim DeVeau. And he hands me the furlough letter and wants me to sign it. And I said, sorry, Jim, I have to have my attorney look at this first. He turned white like a ghost because he didn't expect me to be prepared with an attorney and that I saw the writing on the wall. I didn't expect him to do this to me, but I had to be prepared. And I wanted my commissions. Now we're in May, June of 2020. My commissions were earned in 2019. $83,000 in commissions due to me. So it was really, and here's what sucks. That was commission that would have been paid every year going forward, but he furloughed me. I had to go the legal route. It took months. I forget if it was like October maybe by the time I got my commission. The market had rebounded a bunch. I didn't feel comfortable yet I should have, right, looking back, put it in Shopify still, but after it had rebounded so much, you missed a lot of the action there. But yeah, I went the legal route just to collect what I was owed, and I'm fucked. All that years of work to build up a $10-12 million book of business that's supposed to pay me every year, gone just like that, starting over. Now, I tried to be peaceful about it. There was a lot of other things going on, and I really didn't want a large legal battle. So in my head, I was like, let me just get the 1 year of commissions that I'm owed and figure out my next move. And it didn't take long. A recruiter reached out to me, and I was recruited to a company called .com Distribution. I think I started in October. Yeah, so I started in October. I didn't actually collect until maybe November from Tailored, the $83,000 I was owed. But I could have sued them for 3 times the amount. And withholding commissions is illegal, especially in New Jersey. That's treated as wages. And if you think about the fact that today, that account now at Houston Logistics, which Tailored was acquired a couple of years later by Houston Logistics, a public company, for $209 million. My accounts are still there. The big one, Madreg, still there. And it grew from a $5 million account to like $10-12 million. So if you think about what my commissions would have been growing with that over the last few years, I would have a significant amount of money today. But they take it from you. Anytime a company owes you a lot of money, and they're going forward, they're going to figure out a way to get you out. That's the game they play in this industry, and it needs to fucking change. I hate seeing these people benefit from all my hard work and success. And that's why today I'm calling them out. And then there's more you're going to see in the next few episodes. But yeah, fuck those guys. If they want to come after me for telling this, I signed an NDA to collect my commission and whatever and just try to move on. But now looking back at 10 years in the industry, I really don't give a fuck anymore. If you want to sue me, I got nothing. You can come sue me all you want. Houston, Tailored, I don't know how you want to handle this, but I'm probably gonna come after you in some way. And I'm doing it publicly, and I don't blame Houston for acquiring Tailored. I actually like Houston, and the last company I worked for, DeVeau, I closed a deal for them with Houston Logistics using my contacts. To me, that was good karma. Until DeVeau decided not to pay me my commissions and grant me my equity that I was promised either. Everybody does the same thing in the industry. Same fucking thing. Because everybody thinks it's okay and acceptable. And they don't give a fuck about ruining people's lives. And it's not just me. This happens to everyone. Tons of people. And I guess I'm just the one who's not afraid to fucking talk about it publicly, to people's faces. I really don't give a fuck. So come after me if you want. Keep coming after me. All of that. Anyway, so Tailored Services, I would have been collecting a commission check the last couple of years of $125,000 to $150,000 on top of my salary for all my hard work, which was earned. I'm not one to say I want somebody else's money. I want what I earned for the work I put in. And I never get it in supply chain. It just never fucking happens. So that's really the story of Tailored Services and Houston Logistics, which now owns them. I think they're still operating as Tailored Services, Taylord Services. But yeah, that was there was some shady stuff at that company too, that Jim DeVeau and the team. It's very shady, weird connections with people. And think about it, warehousing, trucking, New Jersey. I think you know what I'm getting at. I could certainly tell a lot more stories than I may in future episodes. But that's just the beginning, right? That we're gonna get into the rest of the journey, but that was the beginning from late 2015 through 2020, where I was royally fucked over after 5 years of building an incredible book of business. But I learned a lot. At the time, I didn't go after them because I thought I had enough experience to just rebuild, and I did. Several times, and I get fucked over every time. So we'll get into the other companies and other people that I'd like to talk about in this series called The Supply Chain Wars, but I think that sums it up for Tailored Services. I'm always happy to answer questions if people have. I'm sure there's going to be some noise from posting this publicly, and I'm okay with that. Bring it on.